They thought I'd break, but I smiled and ended their game. One message exposed everything: betrayal, lies, and the power they never saw coming. This isn't revenge, it's restoration. My name is Claire. I'm 35 years old, and this is how I turned their betrayal into my blueprint for power. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. The conference room smelled like lemon polish and burnt coffee. The scent clung to the air vents, sharp and artificial, mixing with the dry hum of recycled air. The long table gleamed under rows of sterile ceiling panels, each light flickering just enough to feel like it might give out mid-meeting. My reflection trembled on the chrome edge, ghost thin, almost uncertain it belonged there. We were 10 minutes from the biggest pitch of the year, Chicago in early spring, when the wind finds its way through every seam of your coat and the sidewalks shine with thawed grime. Inside, though, the air was too warm, thick with caffeine and tension, a kind of humidity that only comes from nerves in tailored suits. Clients began filtering in one after another, brushing snowmelt from their sleeves, shaking hands with the easy, rehearsed charm that people learn after too many boardrooms. 3 of them, VPs from a logistics tech firm we'd hunted for months. Their logo was already glowing on the projector screen, blue and white like clean frost. My boss hovered near it, shuffling papers, muttering about alignment and eye contact. Danielle poured coffee like she was serving champagne, laughing softly at something one of the clients said. She had that southern lilt that made everything sound harmless, even when it wasn't, the kind of voice that makes you forget to watch your back. She leaned toward me, her perfume, vanilla and something sharper, cutting through the stale air. "Hey," she said lightly, "I forgot my charger. Can you just use my laptop? The presentation's already loaded." I smiled, automatic, the polite kind you use when teamwork still feels genuine. Sure. It should have ended there, but her tone stuck in the air a second too long, like perfume that doesn't fade. There was something careful about it, practiced. I caught her glance, quick, assessing, already somewhere else. I sat down, smoothed my blazer, and opened the laptop. Same silver model, same faint scratches from the company issue batch. A blue post-it on the corner read, "Don't forget to breathe." I almost laughed. The screen glowed to life. No password. Auto sign in. I found the file labeled Pitch Final V3, double-clicked. The projector warmed up with that slow electric whine. Then, pop. A message bloomed in the corner. Another followed. And suddenly the whole chat window opened, filling the screen like a wound splitting open. Danielle's text thread. Not to me, to someone saved as a T. The name didn't register, at first, but the words did. "She's clueless. Just wait. This pitch is gonna tank. Send me more of her slides, LOL. Already did. You're gonna laugh. She still uses bullet points like it's 2012. Don't worry. I'll make her look incompetent in front of the clients." My hand froze on the mouse. The air inside the room changed shape, quieter, heavier. Even the projector's hum turned into a low, steady roar in my ears. I didn't turn. Not yet. But I could feel her behind me, could sense the way her breath caught when she realized what was on display. The soft chatter died. Chairs creaked. My boss exhaled, slow, unsure. Mr. Nadar, the middle client, leaned forward, squinting. No one spoke. I clicked once, then again. The thread expanded, line by line, a parade of betrayal. Her messages weren't mistakes. They were deliberate, planned. Each one a calculated incision meant to bleed me out quietly. My pulse steadied instead of racing. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips, but my voice, when it came, was calm. "Since the messages relate to today's presentation," I said evenly, "let's continue with full transparency." The words landed like a pin drop in a cathedral. Danielle's cup rattled against the saucer. She tried to speak. "Claire, I didn't—" I raised a hand. "No, let's keep going." The rest unspooled like a film reel that had been waiting for the right moment. Screenshots of my notes, drafts from the shared drive, photos of me at my desk, my back turned. Each one timestamped, each one stolen, and at the bottom, an audio file. I didn't play it. The text beneath was enough. If she gets this deal, she'll get the promotion. We can't have that. I'll tank it. Her lipstick looked too red now, bleeding against her skin. I reached into my bag, slid out my own flash drive, plugged it in. Folder, backup, Claire final slides, my insurance. Every file she claimed was lost, every timestamp, every trace of my work. I thought something was off, I said quietly. So, I made copies. She went still. The clients didn't move. My boss's phone was already in his hand, and that's when I opened the final tab, the email chain that tied it all together. T wasn't just a contact, it was Thomas Hughes, my ex. The same Thomas who'd introduced her to the company. The same Thomas who'd told me to trust people more. The last email blinked on the screen. Take her down clean, then I'll make sure you get the title. Mr. Nadar looked at me, then at the laptop. His voice was steady. If this is how you handle betrayal under pressure, he said, I want you leading our entire account. He handed me his card. Simple as that. Danielle didn't move. Couldn't. Her reflection on the laptop was pale and blurred, like she'd already been erased. I closed it gently. The sound of the hinge felt final. The room emptied faster than I expected. Chairs slid back in. Hurried silence. Papers shuffled, shoes clicked against the polished floor. The air was thick with the ghost of what had just happened, like smoke after a controlled explosion. Clients gathered their folders carefully, speaking in murmurs that sounded more like prayers than conversation. They glanced between me and the door as if they'd just seen something they weren't supposed to witness. Something raw. My boss didn't look at me. Not yet. He paced near the far end of the table, phone pressed hard to his ear, voice low and sharp. That tone people use when anger still has to wear a suit. Every few seconds, his gaze flicked toward the window, toward nothing in particular, as if the city itself might absorb the fury he couldn't release here. I stayed seated. My hands rested flat on the table, palms faintly damp. My posture was perfect, corporate manual perfect. But inside, every muscle trembled with the memory of what had just detonated. I could hear my own pulse, steady and heavy, echoing in my throat like footsteps in an empty corridor. Danielle finally stood. The sound of her chair scraping the tile made everyone flinch. It was too loud, too human. She pressed her palms against the table and leaned forward until her perfume cut through the sterile lemon air. Her voice was low, almost tender. Claire, this is a misunderstanding. You know that, right? Her nails tapped the edge of the table. Tap, tap, tap. A rhythm of desperation. Like she thought she could knock on the door of my forgiveness and I'd let her back in. I said nothing. Her eyes searched mine, hungry for a hint of weakness, some opening she could crawl through. She found only silence. My boss turned. The expression on his face froze the air. His eyes were dark, jaw locked so tight I could hear the grind of his teeth from across the table. Danielle, he said evenly. Office, now. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The words carried the weight of dismissal already baked in. The temperature dropped. She inhaled sharply like she might argue, but he lifted one hand. A small motion, absolute authority, and she went quiet. A tiny collapse of posture, shoulders folding inward. He nodded once toward the hallway. Now. Her heels clattered against the floor as she left, too fast. Like she thought velocity might erase consequence. The door shut behind her with a soft metallic click. The room exhaled, space expanded. Even the walls seemed to listen. I sat for a moment longer before moving. My body obeyed the quiet ritual of control, closing the laptop, sliding the flash drive back into the hidden pocket of my bag, collecting my pen. Each motion measured, deliberate. The kind of calm that's really exhaustion wearing discipline as armor. My boss's voice cut through the stillness. Claire, what you did in there was controlled. Professional. I'll need a statement from you. I already wrote one, I said. Last week. He blinked. Surprise flickered, short, sharp, gone. That 1 second told me everything. He'd suspected. But without proof, suspicion is just smoke. He looked down, exhaled through his nose, nodded. It's imaging her laptop now. HR wants you after lunch. Okay. He hesitated. Take the rest of the morning. Clear your head. I didn't tell him my head had never been clearer. When I stepped into the hallway, the shift from heated silence to corporate calm felt almost surreal. The gray carpet swallowed sound. The glass walls reflected sunlight that didn't quite reach the floor. Chicago brightness filtered through in cold ribbons, trying but failing to warm the space. The air smelled faintly of toner and citrus cleaner. Always the same. Always sterile. My phone buzzed in my hand, a vibration that cut straight through the quiet. The name on the screen tightened something in my chest. Thomas. Call me. We need to talk. I didn't. Another message followed almost instantly. Please. Urgent. I swiped it away and kept walking. The elevator doors slid open. I stepped inside. Alone. My reflection in the steel panels looked composed, too composed. The kind of calm that comes after surviving a storm you didn't start. I let my head fall back against the cold metal. The hum of the motor filled the silence. I thought of the nights I'd stayed late, rebuilding files she'd accidentally deleted. The flicker of the monitor at midnight, the cleaning crew's distant vacuum, my own heartbeat counting the hours. How she'd smile the next morning, chirping about teamwork, while I stared at the empty space where my work used to live. The elevator chimed open, a rush of noise, footsteps, chatter, the sweet scent of pastries from the lobby cafe, and then her voice. Claire, please, can we talk? I turned. Danielle stood near the column, hair slightly undone, lipstick smudged like she'd wiped at her mouth with shaking hands. You should be upstairs with HR, I said. They told me to wait. Her voice cracked on the word. I never meant for it to go this far. I just needed the promotion. Thomas said if I helped him, he'd help me. I didn't know he'd use it like that. Her tone softened to a fragile whisper, the kind people mistake for sincerity. You sent him everything, I said. I know, she breathed. But I didn't think you'd find out. That isn't a defense. She stepped closer, her voice dropping. If you stay quiet, Claire, I can fix this. I'll tell them it was just venting, just jokes. The air between us carried her coffee and mint breath. I stepped back. You recorded yourself sabotaging the project. That isn't a joke. Her face twitched, a tiny fracture. If they fire me, I'm done, she whispered. You're not cruel. You wouldn't ruin someone's life. I met her eyes. You tried to ruin mine. For a second, silence hung heavy. The bell above the bakery door chimed, releasing the warm scent of cinnamon and bread into the cold lobby. Her mask slipped. You think they'll promote you after this? They'll call you drama. Unstable. I didn't blink. They already asked me to lead the account. Her mouth fell open. The collapse was quiet, absolute. Danielle, my boss's voice called from behind. HR's ready. She turned. Shoulders slumped, footsteps small. She didn't look back. Outside, the Chicago wind met me head on. It was fierce, honest, alive, the kind of cold that strips everything false. I breathed it in, deep, unafraid. My phone buzzed again. Claire, please, this is serious. Call me now. I powered it off, slipped it into my pocket. Let them feel the silence they taught me. This was only the beginning. I didn't go home. Not yet. Instead, I walked 2 blocks east to the little diner on Clark and Ninth, the one that always smelled like syrup and tired dreams, the one with chipped red booths that stuck slightly to your hands in summer and stayed cold in winter. The windows fogged around the edges where the heating vents breathed, and old Coke posters drooped from thumbtacks like they were holding on out of loyalty more than relevance. It was almost empty inside, just the cook behind the counter flipping bacon with the rhythm of someone who'd done it for decades, and a woman by the window staring into a cup of tea that had gone cold. The jukebox hummed low in the corner, cycling through songs no one asked for. I slid into the booth near the back. The vinyl hissed faintly under me. I ordered black coffee. nothing else. I didn't trust my stomach yet. When the mug arrived, steam curled up like faint smoke. The first sip burned, bitter, grounding. I opened the folder I'd carried for weeks but never dared unfold in public. It was thick now, worn at the corners from being handled too much. Inside were the printouts, the screenshots, the timelines, every stolen slide, every deleted file that somehow reappeared under Danielle's name. Proof. Real, tangible proof. But what mattered wasn't what was on those pages. It was what she didn't know I had. 3 weeks ago, when a presentation crashed seconds after I started speaking, I thought it was bad luck. Maybe I'd saved it wrong. Maybe my laptop was running too many tabs. The usual excuses you make when you want to believe people are good. Then, Danielle sent an apology email to the whole team before I even told anyone what happened. That was the moment I stopped doubting myself. I reached out to someone I trusted. James. He'd been our external IT contractor during the last cloud migration. Quiet, methodical, a puzzle solver. Mid-40s. The kind of man who noticed patterns in chaos and took pride in being invisible. I didn't tell him everything, just enough to get his curiosity working. James, I'd said, if someone's editing files under my credentials, after hours, could we trace the device? He didn't even pause. Yes. Then, after a beat, off the books? I'd smiled into the phone. Preferably. He chuckled, low and amused, like he was about to start one of his weekend campaigns. Then let's roll initiative. Over the next 10 days, he sent me breadcrumbs, login traces, screenshots of the cloud activity logs, anomalies only he would spot, and finally, a PDF that ended all speculation. Danielle had been logging in after midnight using cloned credentials from an old company laptop. A laptop that had once been assigned to Thomas Hughes. I remember staring at that report for a long time. The letters didn't feel like text. They felt like weapons. Now, sitting in that diner with the folder in front of me, I traced its edge with one finger, slow and deliberate. The paper was warm from my hands, slick with faint condensation from the coffee mug beside it. Outside, Chicago moved on. Horns, footsteps, bus brakes, a siren somewhere too far away to mean anything. Inside, everything was still. I didn't need to check my phone to know what Thomas would do next. He'd spin. He'd distance himself. He'd claim Danielle was unstable, ambitious, emotional. He'd call it an unfortunate misunderstanding. He'd always been good at rewriting history to make himself the victim. But what he didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that I already had the original chain of emails, the ones Danielle forwarded to him, because 6 weeks ago she slipped. She accidentally CC'd me instead of BCCing him. Just one careless click, one moment of arrogance. I'd opened it, read every line, and quietly forwarded it to my private email. Then I encrypted it, labeled it Do Not Touch, and stored it on an external drive that never touched the company network again. They thought they were invisible. They thought secrecy was power. But the truth is, secrecy only works when no one's paying attention. And I'd learned to pay attention. My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. I let it ring out, then checked voicemail. Thomas's voice spilled through the tiny speaker, too smooth, too careful. Claire, I'm hoping we can talk this out. This whole thing with Danielle got out of control. You know how competitive she gets. I told her to stop. I told her not to mess with your files anymore. I just didn't think she'd actually go through with it. I almost laughed. Even now he was performing, still painting himself as the man trying to keep order, the one cleaning up other people's mistakes. He'd always underestimated me. When we were together, he loved how hard I worked until that work started outshining his. Then the compliments turned to labels, intense, obsessive, too detail-oriented. That's what he said right before he presented my deck as his own in a department meeting, smiling while I applauded from the back. I let him, because love, or what I thought was love, made me small. But love doesn't steal credit. Love doesn't sabotage from the inside. And it damn sure doesn't recruit a coworker to destroy you after you walk away. The waitress came back, refilling my mug with practiced kindness. You need anything else, hon? I shook my head. No, thanks. She nodded, moving on, her sneakers squeaking faintly on the linoleum. Outside, the wind pushed against the glass. Clouds dragged low, bruised purple against the afternoon light. I finished my coffee, slipped the folder back into my bag, and stood. The bell above the diner door jingled softly as I stepped out. The air smelled like rain. Time for HR. By the time I got back to my desk, the office had changed. Not in what you could see, same glass walls, same muted gray carpet, but in the current of the air itself. It felt charged, aware. People looked up from their screens when I passed. Not curiosity this time. Something quieter. Recognition. Maybe even respect. No one spoke. They didn't have to. Stories travel faster than truth in offices like ours. The Slack threads were already doing their work, reshaping what happened in Conference A into myth before lunchtime. Danielle's chair sat empty. Her headset hung from one corner like a forgotten relic. Even her nameplate was gone, the adhesive outline still visible on the desk. I sat down, powered on my laptop, and stared at the lock screen. The background photo hadn't changed. Lake Michigan frozen in midwinter, the sky that color between silver and sorrow. The image always reminded me of stillness, of what endures when everything else breaks apart. I opened a new email. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, steady. To Mr. Nadar subject, follow-up, presentation files. Hi, thank you again for your time today. As requested, attached are the original versions of the proposal documents, compiled with updated budget figures and implementation timelines. Please let me know if you'd like a revised walkthrough by end of week. Happy to take point moving forward. Best, Claire. I reread it twice, then hit send. The click felt small but final, like the closing of a vault. Minutes later, the reply arrived. Claire, thank you. We'd be honored to have you as lead. Let's set up a Monday session with our CTO, and, just for the record, you're poised today? Exceptional. Talk soon, Ravi. I sat back, exhaling through a smile I didn't realize I'd been holding. Not triumph, exactly. Something subtler. A return to equilibrium. It wasn't just recovery. It was elevation. They didn't just forgive me for surviving that morning. They respected me for how I did it. But power isn't about applause. It's about timing. About knowing when silence says more than speech. Danielle hadn't reached out. No apology, no explanation, no performance of regret. Just absence. Thomas, though, he never understood silence. That night, I was home on the couch, a blanket pulled to my chin, pad thai cooling beside me on the coffee table when the doorbell rang. The sound startled me. It had that sharp electric tone older apartments in Chicago keep, the kind that slices through television dialogue. I wasn't expecting anyone. Not at 8:42 p.m. Through the peephole, the hallway light framed his face. Thomas. Same navy coat, same calculated posture. But there were cracks now. Shadows under his eyes, hair too perfect for someone calm. Or maybe I was just seeing him clearly for the first time. I unlatched the lock but left the chain. You shouldn't be here, I said. I know, he breathed. Just 5 minutes. Please. His voice trembled in a way it never used to. Thomas used to occupy rooms like oxygen. Now he looked like someone trying to borrow air. I waited. They're coming after me, he said finally. The company, legal breach. I could lose everything. You sent stolen files. Because she asked me to. And you said yes. He flinched as if the words landed physically. I was trying to help her. She said you were pushing her out, that you were undermining. She told you what you needed to hear, I cut in, because it let you win again. That's what this was always about. His shoulders sagged. It wasn't supposed to go this far. It did. The silence between us was thin and cold. Wind pressed faintly against the window, whistling down the hallway seam. Then his tone softened, nostalgia weaponized. Do you remember when we started? When we talked about building something real? I met his eyes through the chain gap. You stole the blueprint and tried to burn the house down. He didn't answer, just stood there, breathing the cold. What do you want? I asked. If you could just tell legal I didn't pressure her, that it was her idea. It was your email chain. He didn't deny it, just stepped back like retreat might undo the evidence. I made a mistake, he said quietly. A big one, and I know I don't deserve it, but please, don't let this ruin me. I slid the door until only the chain held it. You ruined yourself. Then I shut it. The final click sounded like punctuation. He didn't knock again. I watched through the peephole as he lingered, staring at the door like he could will the past back open. Then he turned and walked into the dark. I locked the door twice, checked it again. The apartment felt still. I sat back on the couch, the TV flickering without meaning. The phone buzzed. Angela from HR. Hi, Claire. Legal reviewed the metadata and version logs you provided. Because of your documentation, there will be no internal discipline for failure to report earlier. You're cleared. Also, congratulations. Promotion paperwork approved. Title: Senior Strategy Lead. Effective Monday. For a moment, the words blurred. My throat tightened, not from tears. Exactly, but from release. Every late night, every idea stolen, every credit erased. This wasn't revenge. It was repair, and it was almost complete. Monday came cold, gray skies, slush pressed into the corners of every sidewalk. Chicago at its most honest, wind that sliced through wool, air that smelled faintly of metal and salt. The kind of morning that made you question why anyone would build a city here. But I felt warm, not from the weather, from something that lived deeper, something earned. I reached the building before most. The lobby lights still flickered between night and day, that in-between hush before the world fills with footsteps. I didn't rush the elevator this time. I stood straight, coat open, boots clicking on the marble like punctuation. Every floor I passed reflected back a fragment of myself. Steady, unafraid. When the doors opened, something small waited at my desk. A yellow post-it. Just one word written in black ink. Finally. No signature, no flourish. Just that. It didn't feel cryptic. It felt like acknowledgement from whoever had watched the storm break and saw who was left standing. I smiled. Set down my bag. The hum of the office felt different now. Less frantic, more respectful. I turned on my computer. The first email at the top of my inbox glowed with Ravi Nadar's name. Claire, we're locked in. Confirmed for 9:30 with our CTO and legal team. You've got this. Let us know if you want to loop in anyone else. Otherwise, we trust you to carry it. Ravi. I read it twice. Not out of disbelief, but because I wanted to remember what trust looked like in words. The call started at 9:30 sharp. Slides, numbers, projections, all rebuilt line by line from the ruins Danielle left behind. My voice didn't shake. No one mentioned her name. No one mentioned his. That silence was the cleanest victory I'd ever felt. Afterward, I went to the kitchenette for tea. The scent of jasmine rose as the water turned green in the mug. Steam fogged the small window over the sink. Rachel from finance stepped in. Her shoes clicked once before she spoke. Hey, I said. She hesitated, weighing the words she wanted to use. We all knew something was off, she said finally. Just didn't know how deep it went. I nodded. Yeah. I'm glad it was you who exposed it, not them. So am I, she smiled. A real one. Then left me alone with my tea. Later, HR called. Angela's voice through the intercom was calm, but final. Can you come by? I walked down the hall where everything smelled faintly of printer ink and lemon cleaner. She met me with a folder. We're closing the file, she said. But you should see this. Inside was a folded sheet of paper, handwritten. Claire, you probably won't believe this, but I never hated you. I just couldn't keep up. You made it look easy. Danielle's apology spilled across the page, uneven, human. Regret in cursive. I handed it back. You don't have to respond, Angela said. I wasn't planning to. She nodded. You did good, Claire. No ceremony, no applause, just the truth. That evening I walked home instead of taking the train. The wind bit my cheeks, clean and sharp. I let it. Let it strip away the last residue of their betrayal. In a shop window, I caught my reflection. For the first time in a long time, I liked what I saw. Not polished, not perfect, just whole. I didn't get revenge. I got restoration. Danielle stole my story. I rewrote the ending. She laughed like I was the punchline. I became the headline instead. She tried to dim my light and burned herself in the process. All because she forgot one thing. She saved her lies on the laptop. So I used her own screen to end them. If this story struck a chord, hit like, subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments.